Hey, this is Jim Florentine, and you're listening to the Vulgar Display of Podcast.
Hi, and welcome to the Vulgar Display of Podcast, live from the Barn Studio in Southeast Missouri. You got the Mox here, and I'm joined with a very special guest online right now. We have Mr. Jim Florentine. Jim, how are you, man?
I'm good, man. How you doing?
Doing good. You're coming into town this weekend. You'll be at the Funny Bone, St. Charles, Missouri, December 7th through the 9th, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. 2 shows on Friday, 2 on Saturday, 1 on Thursday, and that's come back to town. I mean, you've been here and played St. Louis 100 times by now, but looking forward to having you in town this week.
Yeah, I've never done the room that they have in St. Charles, so I hear it's really good, so I'm looking forward to doing that one.
Yeah, and you've played the Funny Bone in Westport. I mean, if you had to guess, how many times?
15.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, I'm looking forward to getting out there. It should be good. I hear the room's beautiful, too. Like, it's brand new, only like a year old or something like that. It's a nice complex, all that, so we'll see.
Yeah, and I haven't been to that one specifically. I've hit all the other ones in town, obviously the Heliums and the Funny Bones, and even some of the rock clubs and the arena and the theaters that stand up. A lot of stand-ups play, but I haven't been to that one. But we're gonna mark that one off our list this weekend.
Nice.
Actually, talked to Pete Corielli last week, had an interview with Pete Corielli, and I asked him this question. I want to know your thoughts as well. With all these podcasts, all this Netflix, do you feel like stand-up is sort of in a, maybe one of the most popular times in stand-up? It just seems like it's everywhere you turn and look now.
Yeah, I think so, definitely. I think, there's not a lot of good comedy that's on TV. Regular TV, cable TV, even like Netflix and stuff, like no one's taking any chances. Like any of these comedies, like there's no racial humor. There's no really super edgy kind of humor anymore. So I think people will get it from podcasts and from stand-up comics.
Do you feel that there's sort of some kind of kinship between stand-up comedy or comedians and, metal specifically, but even just music in general? Do you feel that there's some kind of correlation there?
I don't know. I mean, I always wanted to be a band and I couldn't. So then it's like, I got to get up on stage somehow. So I was always in the mix between the two. But then there's a lot of comics that never listen to music. It's not even that, it doesn't do anything for them, which is, I think is crazy because I've always, I listen to music constantly. I've been my whole life and stuff, been a big part of my life. So I don't know, but they are similar and, we're traveling, a lot of comics want to be musicians want to be comedians. So you get that whole thing.
Maybe I'm projecting here, but I have a hard time. I like all kinds of music, but I would say metal is my true love. I grew up on it, and I think even our stories are somewhat similar. It sounded like maybe your older brothers got you into metal. I had older cousins that got me into metal, but I have a hard time relating to people that don't like metal. Do you find yourself being that way as well?
Not with the metal, but if they don't like music, I have a weird time with that. Or if they just like the goofy hip hop, it's just auto-tuned. I'm like, come on, man, that's not even music. But, look, this whole new generation, up to probably like even millennials, whatever they're called, they never really got into music. Music was just throwaway to them. So there's not a lot of passion in the people coming up that like music. So
I was lucky enough to see Pantera this summer in Indianapolis for the reunion. And that was one of the things that stood out to me the most is just the passion that comes with it. And I do think, it was a lot less accessible back when I was growing up in the 80s and the 90s. And you really had to go search for it. You really had to go to the record store, and it almost was like dealing drugs in a way, get this new tape and see what the liner notes said and who they toured with and who they played with. So it felt like that developed a passion within music fans from that era that I don't see as much now. Is that kind of what you're hinting at?
Yeah. I mean, the younger generation has to get into the music. I mean, but now then again, I see like my niece is, I think 16 and she's in the Ghost, and I saw her wearing a Ghost hoodie the other day. I go, did you know that band? She's like, yeah, I like them a lot. I'm like, really? So, and then there's young people that are in the Greta Van Fleet and stuff. So, maybe it's making a tiny comeback, but not nearly as what it should be, with this younger generation. But I see a little Greta Van Fleet's like selling out arenas, and Ghost is doing really well. So, maybe there's some hope.
And you mentioned those two bands. I love both of those bands. I really just enjoyed them. I saw Ghost this summer as well. Are there newer bands out there now, other than those two, that you find yourself enjoying?
There's a band called Dirty Honey that's out of L.A. They're like a cross between like Aerosmith and Guns N' Roses. I like those guys a lot too. But I don't know. The stuff doesn't come on my radar as much anymore. So I don't know. There's probably some other bands out there, but I like Dirty Honey.
We mentioned Pantera. You were obviously are friends with those guys. I think you maybe even went on a tour with them or crashed on their tour bus a few times, and friends with Dime. What can you talk about with Pantera and your relationship with those guys and some of those old memories?
Yeah, well, those guys, Vinny and Dime were big comedy fans. Whenever they had a night off, if they were on tour, they'd go to a local comedy club, wherever it was. And they wound up coming to see me in Dallas. This was like after Pantera, like before the Damage Plan record came out. That was about the time when I first met them. They took a liking to me, and they would come to all my shows when I was on the road. And then after Dime passed away, Vinny had a place in Vegas. So Vinny's probably saw me perform like 15, 20 times. He was part owner of these comedy clubs in Texas called Hyenas Comedy Club in Dallas and Fort Worth, Texas.
Yeah.
So Vinny was always there with his buddies. I've been to his house and stuff. They were just super nice guys, man. Like, would always stop, take pictures, always, hang out with the fans afterwards, sign autographs at the tour bus and stuff like that. I never see more down to earth guys. And that's the Texas people. And I grew up in Jersey where people are just, jerks. No, not them. They were just nice to everybody.
And I heard you talk about one time a hangover cure that I think maybe Dime or Vinny showed you. I still use it to this day. It's the old pickle juice before you go to bed thing.
Yeah, it used to be Pedialyte. They used to get it like in their ride or on their bus would be a case of Pedialyte, which is, for kids if they got, the stomach flu or whatever for babies. So you'd have to drink Pedialyte. But then, Vinny wound up switching. He goes, no, it's pickle juice. Pickle juice is even better than Pedialyte. So I'm like, all right, I guess it's pickle juice then.
Yeah, after a night out, my wife would catch me standing at the refrigerator, half buzzed up, and there I'm chugging the pickle juice out of the pickles.
That's nasty, that pickle juice, man. It's like I'd rather the Pedialyte, or even like coconut water is pretty good too.
Yeah. And my Pantera story is I did get to meet him one time, and people sometimes ask me about that, and what was Dime like? And I always say that Dime was exactly what you thought Dime was like just the most generous, life of the party. Vinny was cool too. All those guys were just great, but Dime was exactly, my experience was when I met him, he was exactly like you think Dime would be.
Yep. He always wanted to make sure everyone was comfortable. There was a party going on. Everyone had a drink. Everyone was okay, and he loved it. That was his favorite part.
We're talking about some of these legendary metal bands. You were obviously on the Metal Show for a number of years. I think you guys had like over 125 episodes, interviewed everybody, had everybody on your show that you could think of: Lemmy, Phil, Axl, Slash Duff, Dave Mustaine, just the who's who of metal. Do you miss those times? Has there been any kind of talk of like bringing it back, in what way?
Yeah, I definitely miss it. It was fun to do, and being a big metal fan, I was fans of all these guys, so I couldn't wait to interview them. The show's been off the air for I don't know what 8 years now or 9 years, so it's not up to us if it comes back. We don't own the show, so we're just guys on the show. So actors on TV shows can't just go, oh, let's bring that show back because people liked it. There's owners and all that. It's almost like a corporation you get fired from.
Sure.
Once you get fired, you can't just show back up your job.
Sure.
On Monday, go, no, but people like me here. They liked it. They thought I was good at this job.
Yeah.
So that's basically what it is.
And I do think it's, kind of talk about that kinship, but, Jim Brewer and Craig Gass and Jameson and Trunk, Brian Posehn. There's so many comedians out there that are metalheads, and I don't think that's just happenstance. I do think those worlds kind of, collide at points.
Some of them do. Bill Burr is also a big metalhead. Dean Del Rey is another guy. Jim Norton too. But then there's a million comics out there, and if I wear a Pantera shirt, they won't even know what it is.
Yeah.
So,
right.
Out of it's maybe like 2% of comics are metalheads out of all of them. There's really not a lot.
Yeah,
I can't sit with comics. I'm with comics all the time. I can't sit with them and talk about, the Pantera reunion, and you think Kiss is going to come back. You think they're definitely over. They're like, they stare at me like, dude, I don't know what you're talking about.
Right. Do you think that's kind of what makes it sort of a fraternity in a way? That when you do meet another metalhead, you're like, let's talk about metal.
I love it, yeah. When I could find someone that would talk about it, I could talk about it for hours, yeah. I love that, yeah.
Talking about some of these big major acts, everybody knows the big four: Anthrax, Slayer, Metallica, Megadeth. If we had to expand that to maybe 5 or 6, does Pantera enter into that conversation at that point? Or who are some just outside of the big fours for you?
I wouldn't put them as thrash. I don't know, for some reason, Pantera.
Yeah.
I don't know why, but I don't know. I would put Overkill. That's more of an East Coast band. I grew up on the East Coast, so as a thrash band, they're still putting albums. I think they got like 20 studio albums out. Overkill and Testament would be my 2. That would be 5 and 6.
I think, Jim, a lot of people know you and are familiar with you from, sort of the early Sirius XM days. You were always a great guest when you came on Stern Show. Opie and Anthony, obviously. You went on Brewer Unleashed. And, we heard about the passing of Ralph Sorella, Howard Stern's stylist and good friend. We learned about that today. Did you have any kind of dealings with Ralph? Do you have anything about that you'd want to share?
I knew him. I mean, I haven't seen him in years, probably, 10 years or so. But, when I was on the Stern Show for, probably like about 10 years, I'd see him all the time and, been out with him and stuff at clubs and all that stuff. He was a nice guy. We always got along good. He was a local Jersey guy, too, so we had that bond and stuff like that. But we always got along. We hung out. He was a good dude. And he was great on the air. He's a bit, he'd love to stir, shit stirrer, basically, and it was good. Some of the fans loved him, some of them hated him, which made him a great guest.
Yeah, and those early days at Sirius, what was that? What did that feel like? Like I said, you were a mainstay pretty much on Stern Show, Brewer Unleashed, Opie and Anthony, and even like Pharrell. What did those early days at Sirius, what was the energy like then? To me, and I'm a little biased here maybe, but I think it was some of the best radio ever created and content ever created. What were those early days like for you?
Yeah, I don't know. I just remember. Yeah, I remember you could, basically say what you wanted to say. It was also good when you were on regular radio, where you had to dance around stuff that you had to say. You had to use certain words. So I didn't mind that either. Like, you had to be creative in how you said something and be funny. But no, when doing Sirius we have Pharrell, and then Bubba the Love Sponge was on. Yeah, Brewer had a show, Opie and Anthony. So it was just like, you just go on all these different shows all the time, and it was just like no censorship, no nothing. It was awesome.
When you talk about censorship, one of the guys I think about the most is Andrew Dice Clay. One of, I think, your heroes growing up, or definitely an inspiration to you growing up. And now he's a friend of yours. So what was that like, developing that friendship, and how important was Dice to stand-up comedy, and especially like with that rock and roll kind of vibe that he had?
Yeah, no, he was great. He was the first one to get canceled back in the day.
Right, he invented canceling.
Between his movie, they protested his movie, said he was sexist and misogynist, so they took it out of the theaters after like 2 weeks, and then he went on MTV and said the word tit, and they banned him from MTV. Because I went on the award show and did a poem or something like that. So he was the first guy to like go through the ringer and stuff. No, he's a huge influence on me, and just, they got it. That's one of the reasons why I got up on stage, just watching him, telling dirty jokes in a leather jacket. I go, that appeals to me.
Right. You could get along with a guy like that, right? With his look and image.
I'm like, this is nice. I like this.
Join here with Jimmy Florentine. This is the Vulgar Display podcast. Jim, we can't let you get out of here without asking, did you have a couple favorite metal albums from 2023? There's been a little bit of debate on our show if 2023 was a good year for metal. Was anything that came out this year that you found yourself listening to more than the others?
I'm trying to even think what came out this year. What came out this year? I mean, I noticed Dirty Honey record came out. It's pretty good. A Foo Fighters record came out. I'm trying to think of like metal stuff that came out.
Well, I know Sleep Token.
Yeah, I don't know. I only list a couple songs from them, so I don't really know too much about them. I got to check them out more. Yeah, I don't know. The Metallica record is pretty good. I like the last one better.
Yeah, I did too.
Hardwired.
Yeah, for sure.
I like the. I don't know why people. For me, the most underrated Metallica record is Death Magnetic. I love that record.
Oh, dude, I'm with you. It's actually probably my top 4.
It's amazing, and no one talks about that record like, man, it wasn't that good. I'm like, what do you? I guess because it was after St. Anger, so people were pissed at Metallica. I remember playing that for people when it came out, and they're like, I'm done with Metallica now, man. I go, listen to this. Like, oh, you know what? It's pretty good. I go, yeah, this is great. That to me, that's the best one they put out probably since the Black Album, I would say. Better than Reload and Load and all those other records.
Did you like Load at all?
Yeah, that was good. Reload was they should have just put one album out.
Yeah, I agree. There's definitely
a lot of those bands get greedy and they decide, oh, look at all these songs we wrote. We have to put them all out because they're all amazing, and they weren't.
Okay, Jim, we'll be seeing you this weekend at the Funny Bone in St. Charles, Missouri, December 7th through the 9th, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. 2 shows on Friday, 2 shows on Saturday. If you're listening to this, you're going to go to jimflorentine.com, get all the merch there, get all the books and DVDs and all those things. Jim, we really appreciate your time today. Can't wait to catch you when you get into town.
I appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, brother.